Hello everyone. This is the Archfiend. Oh yeah.
Before I get too far into this video, I want to say that I don't really much like science in school. I didn't take too many science classes in college, even though my college degree does have the word science in it. Political science, don't let that fool you. It doesn't have much to do with anything about guys in lab coats and experiments and, you know, mixing chemicals and the periodic table of elements and shit like that. But it doesn't mean I don't have an opinion about science and scientific discovery as a layman, because the vast majority of the populace are quote-unquote laymen's. You know, it's comparative to the number of scientists there are to non-scientists. We are the far majority as laymen's. So, I have an opinion about a certain discovery, or what is being known in the news right now as the quote-unquote God particle. And I'll put a link in the video description for one of the articles I read over just recently. I saw a couple news reports on this. And I just want to kind of go over just what my feeling is about this and why it irks me, for lack of a better term. Alright, let me just start off by reading the beginning of this article so we have a somewhat gist of what's going on here. After decades of careful experiment, physicists say they have found the quote-unquote strongest indication to date, end quote, to prove the existence of the Higgs Boson, excuse me scientists if I'm saying that name wrong, the Higgs Boson, a subatomic particle so important to the understanding of space, time, and matter that physicist Leon Lederman nicknamed it the God particle. Alright, to make a long story short, one of those big collider machines basically was throwing atoms and shit and doing whatever the hell those things do. See how much I know about science? I know, it's the scientific community is just shaking their heads right now. And basically they've found the discovery of the Higgs Boson, whatever the hell it's called, subatomic particle. Now, to basically not read the whole entire article and give you a basic gist of what this is, we'll just say the HB particle. The HB particle is the subatomic particle that was, what's being said, was the particle that was created during the Big Bang. It came forth about a tenth of a second after the Big Bang went off, and it is basically what gave matter its mass and what basically caused everything to have its form and functionality right after the Big Bang, and basically says and proves how the universe was formed from this and didn't have to be formed from a higher being, a God. So, when I see something like this, and I see something like this, like the first line of this, after decades of careful experiments, physicists have basically been studying this for over 30 years now, and they're building these huge collider machines at the expense of tens of millions of dollars, and years of experimenting like this adds up to hundreds of millions of dollars, and time adds up to billions of dollars. I see something like this and I go, is this really worth it? Now, I know money's not everything, but the manpower, expenses, time, and research that is being taken to basically show and prove that the universe wasn't created by God, I shake my head at that and I go, is this really what science is about? Is this really what scientific effort is predicated on nowadays? Now, sure, there is plenty of areas of science that aren't doing research like this, and there's many man-hours and many brilliant people doing research that is, you know, helping to fight cancer, find cures for diseases, stuff along those lines. I get all that, and I'm not disrespecting the entire industry, but as I said before, as a layman, with my layman opinion, why is this necessary? Now, I know people are going to be like, well, you don't know what this discovery could be, what this could lead to in the future. They're basically, you know, doing this to help make things better in the future, make possibilities more endless in the future. You don't know what could come of this. Really? Let me go ahead and read a little bit farther into this article here. Finding the Higgs particle would not be of practical value. Alright, and this is one of the scientists saying this. What's his name? Professor Rosser. He's saying finding the Higgs particle would not be of practical value. In other words, finding the particle isn't going to create, you know, a new energy source. It isn't going to help, you know, create a cure for something or anything like that. There is no practical value for it. And again, I know that doesn't mean there is no practical value for it in the future. I get all that. But just one of the things I want to get to here that this Professor Rosser said, or this, I don't see where his first name is. I don't know if he's a professor or not. Anyways, Rosser then argued that when the electron was first discovered in 1897, nobody guessed how it would lead to high-tech wired world that we have today. Now, when I read that, and I saw the title of this, and I saw the whole God particle thing, it really got me to thinking, how goddamn arrogant is all of this? Now, this Rosser is saying how, well, you know, when they discovered the electron in 1897, no one figured it was going to lead to, you know, computers and televisions and all this other stuff. You're comparing the electron. Now, I might not know much about science, but I do know the scientific importance and relevance of the electron. It's number 3 as far as importance goes between the neutron and the proton. You're comparing that to some subatomic particle that existed a tenth of a second after the Big Bang. Again, the arrogance of everything, and calling this the quote-unquote God particle. And that got me to thinking of things, and I'm like, this whole thing is just a pissing contest between the scientific world and the religious world. And then when I was thinking about it, I was like, why are they even calling it the God particle? If it isn't a pissing contest, and if it isn't the scientific world basically just rubbing in their face, rubbing the face of organized religion that has shunned the scientific community basically ever since organized religion has existed, let's be honest. And I understand the scientific community being upset from that end, but why do you have to be juvenile about it, like calling it the God particle? Wait, this is the particle that created God? Oh, this is the particle that dispels God. Here's a news flash. Excuse me as my phone's blowing up. Here's a news flash. Even if the scientists, you know, found this Higgs Boson subatomic particle, proved without a shadow of a doubt, without an inkling of scientific discredit, pointing to any fact that says this did not create the universe and that it absolutely did, do you really think people that are just devout religious followers are going to give a shit? Do you think they're really going to come to their senses and go, oh shit, God really didn't create the universe. It was this subatomic particle that helped create mass. Like, no one's going to give a shit. And I'm sorry, but I'm seeing this whole thing as nothing but a pissing contest between the world of organized religion and scientists. And I just gotta say to all the scientists, aren't you bigger than this? Why do you care? Why do you care to even know where the world came from, where the universe came from? Again, I know I'm just being ignorant to science. I'm just being ignorant to not giving a shit about understanding where this universe was formed and how it formed. But you know what? I would like science to stick with things that are more functional to society, that can better society now. Understanding where the universe came from really doesn't affect mine now as far as I'm concerned. And until someone can say, oh, well, you know what, if we do study this, then it is going to help X number of practical things get discovered, go beyond. And again, I know, I'm just ignorant to science, because for all we know, this could lead to something great and extravagant. It could help time travel, for all we know. But man, just calling it the quote-unquote God particle, these scientists coming out saying, well, no one knew what the electron was going to be until, you know, we started making scientific discoveries with it. Please, calm down. The arrogance of science, and this is an atheist telling you guys this. I don't even care. I don't care about any proof of where the universe came from. I don't give a shit. And the fact that tens upon tens of years of research into just proving the quote-unquote God particle and its relevance in creating the universe, and basically thumbing everyone's noses at Christianity and any organized religion that shunned every aspect of science, who cares? Who gives a shit? They'll never give a shit if you prove that this world and this universe wasn't created by God, so why would you have to care to prove it to them? And that's what I see this whole thing as. Again, to repeat that phrase I've been saying, it's a pissing contest in between who can prove they're right, science or religion. When in the grand scheme of things, doesn't matter. It never will matter. Ay, ay, ay. Anyway, I don't know what you guys think about this. I don't know if you guys are going to lecture me about how just illogical I am to science, and how, you know, I just can't take things like this for granted, because who knows what this is going to lead to discovery-wise, and who knows what this is going to, you know, motivate scientists to do, and the next great invention or just great thing that heals the world is going to come from this. But when I have scientists telling me that there's no practical use for this, and then they're going to be arrogant, saying things like, you know, well, no one knew what the electron would do. Please. I may be a layman, but I also have common sense, and I can understand the world that I see, and the world that I see around me doesn't really need the quote-unquote definition of where the universe came from discovered, as far as I'm concerned. Stay in labs, cure diseases, do anything else, and that's just my 2 cents on it. Have a great day, everyone.